Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today's video we are taking a look at a disc that I will mispronounce every single time because I cannot roll my R's for the life of me. That's right, we're taking a look at the new Anthony Barela Cigarra from Discraft. And if you're wondering about the name Cicada, well, that is just cicada in Spanish, and as we know, the Cicada is actually just a retooled cicada. For the profile, the Cigarra has a medium amount of dome. It's a very nice gentle rise from the wing all the way up to the middle of the flight plate, compared to the Stalker, which has a little bit of a higher shoulder, both about the same height overall. And for the nose, you can see the Cicada has a slightly more angled nose versus the Stalker had a much rounder nose. And if you flip them over, you'll notice the Cigarra is beadless versus the Stalker does have a bead. Overall, when it comes to the profile of the Cicada, it feels very comfortable backhand and forehand. Slight amount of dome fills the hand for my backhand grips, but it's not too domey. And in the Z plastic, you can manipulate the flight plate enough to make it feel like you're getting a flat grip. Being a fairway driver, the Cicada clocks in at a speed 7 with a glide of 6, turn -1 and a fade of 2 versus the Cicada, that is a fade of 1. So by the numbers, you would think the Cigarra is going to have a little bit more fight at the end of the flight. Let's go ahead out to the field and see if that is indeed the case. Now, when thrown on a hyzer, that is exactly what the Cicada is going to do. For a slower arms, it's going to hold that arcing hyzer the entire way. I don't have to worry about it flipping up and riding too straight. Versus for bigger arms, you are going to get a little bit of flip up, and depending on your arm speed, you might even get a little bit of a panning turn before just at the very end of the flight it checks up. Once you start throwing it flat, particularly at the slower speeds, it has good torque resistance where it's just going to go absolutely dead straight and then have a nice predictable finish. Again, bigger arms, you're probably going to get a little bit more of a panning turn, but it does have enough torque resistance to stable up and then have a good predictable hyzer finish. And one thing I really like about the Cicada is that it is good for shot shaping. It's understable enough in the middle part of the flight where it'll kind of hold a line, specifically if you start putting it on more extreme anhyzer angles. It's going to hold that turn a bit, but it's not going to turn into an accidental thrower. It's still going to level itself out, stable up, and have enough fight back that you can trust that it is going to come back. So if you need to kind of do a slight force over flex around an object out in the middle of a fairway, or in, like, say, a wooded course, if you need to kind of match the angle to the fairway and get a little bit of a fight back, you know you can really shot shape with the Cicada and trust that it's going to hyzer out at the very end. Now, since the Cicada does have a good amount of torque resistance, still not a lot of torque resistance, but a good amount, it makes it a very trustworthy disc on forehand, particularly for those of us with slower arm speeds. You may get a little bit of a flip up to flat, it may get a little bit of a panning turn, but again, that late stability, it is going to kick in and it's going to hyzer out, keeping you away from any danger. Alright, we've seen what it does in a wide open field, but how about on the course? Well, I absolutely love the Cicada for these just straight fairway shots where you just need to have a stable finish at the very end. You just need to have that little bit of a hyzer finish, very straight flight. Also, I mentioned the shot shaping. Well, here you had kind of a fairway that went left and then back right, started on the slightest of anhyzers. It's going to hold straight down that fairway before stabling up at the end. And then again, good for forehand. It has enough torque resistance where it's not going to fully turn over, but you may still get, again, just a little bit of turn in the middle of the flight. But because it does have that late stability, you can put it on slightly more extreme anhyzers, get it to flex itself around an object. For the Lefty Lines, I wanted to throw the Cigarra against a lot of different fairway drivers that Discraft has, particularly the Cicada, which this is a modified version of, the Stalker, which a lot of people feel the Cigarra very closely resembles, and also the Athena, because I've seen a lot of people ask for how does the Cigarra fare against an Athena. When looking at the flight of the Cicada, you can definitely see it gets more turn in the earlier and middle parts of the flight, and then it stables up just at the very, very end. So definitely a little bit more understable, more beginner friendly than the Cigarra. The Stalker is probably the straightest of the whole bunch. It has a very straight flight and then the least amount of finish, and then you have the Athena, which is the most overstable option. Then again, this is one of the older prototype Athenas, not one of the stock runs. I apologize, I have not thrown a stock run yet. But in terms of where I would rank these, Cicada is the most beginner friendly, the most understable of the group. It's going to get the most turn in the middle part of the flight, still have, again, a little bit of a finish. Stalker is going to be the straightest with probably almost the least amount of fade back. The Cigarra is going to have a very straight flight and a pretty substantial finish, whereas the Athena, it's not going to go nearly as far as the others, but I think it has the most torque resistance and then also the harshest finish of the group. All right, so my final thoughts. I love the Cicada. This thing is a great fairway driver and is going to be a staple for a lot of players, particularly in the slower to medium arm speed, looking for that dependable, straight fairway driver with a dependable finish. That is exactly what this is going to do. I personally love it. Maybe it might find the bag here for 2025. Well, as always, everyone, thank you all so much. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. And also, if you need to purchase discs, use GreatLakesDiscs.com. Thank you, everyone. Till the next time, keep banging chains.